Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We start your day off here on Northeast Streaming Sports, Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Hall of Fame legendary boxing writer, Jack Hirsch, bringing you a sports breakfast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Christmas is on its way, Jack. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mac. Mac, you said good morning, everybody. You didn't say good morning, Jack, in particular. So I kind of waited for everyone to send their good mornings to you. Kind of like a pause, you know. They would type it in, good morning, Mac, on their keyboard. So I was kind of waiting a little for that.
All right, great. I'm glad you're still very polite in your old age, Jack. And I'm coming live to you folks from Connecticut, the sports corner, I like to call it. And Jack right now is down live in Florida, normally in New York. So this is the power of the internet, folks, where we can come live at the same time to you from different locations.
Mac, so, with the power of sports cancellations, we don't know whether we're coming or going, what game's on, but we're consistent. We're on. We don't cancel. We don't cancel out.
Except for Christmas Day, there will be a show. We won't be live, so there will be something going on for you, but we're taking Christmas Day off so we can be with our families and do the things we need to do. So folks, let's get to the NBA first, and we'll go over the standings real quick. In the East, you got the Nets leading the East right now, 21-9, followed by the Bulls at 19-10. The Bucks have snuck up into third at 20-13. Cavs at 19-13. The Heat 19-13. The Wizards and the 76ers. This is the top six now, Jack. Tied at 16-15. Right now, no Celtics, no Knicks, no Magic, no Atlanta. Are in the top six right now at 30-game point. In the West, the Suns 25-5, followed by the Warriors at 25-6, the Jazz at 21-9, Grizzlies 19-13, the Clippers 17-15, and the Lakers at 16-16. There was a few games last night, Jack. We had the Magic beating the Hawks 104-98, the Bucks over the Rockets 125-106. The Thunder over the Nuggets 101-94. The LA Clippers 105. The Kings 89. So that's just the games that played last night. The Celtics did beat the Cavaliers 111-101. Jaylen Brown leading the way with 34 points. And in some interesting news, Derrick Rose had surgery last night on the right ankle. He has injured. He's going to be reevaluated in 8 weeks. So the point guard, the veteran point guard they picked up last year, will be out for probably.
It's going to be a long season for the Knicks, and it's going to be quite a fall from the number 4 seed. They might not even make the play-in.
Yeah,
that's the first 6 teams are playoff teams, and then teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 have that little play-in tournament, to join the playoff teams. And I don't even think the Knicks are going to get there, quite honestly.
It doesn't look
good. No, there's certain teams that are struggling at this point in the season, but they have a certain upside to them where I could see them improving. Certainly like the Atlanta Hawks, who've been a major disappointment. What were they doing losing to the Orlando Magic last night? The Magic have arguably the worst team in the NBA, yet the Hawks lose to them. But the Hawks have talent. They have upside. They should improve by the time the year's over. Maybe the same thing with the Boston Celtics. They get it together. But the Knicks, I just don't see them coming back. I just don't see it. And I just see it getting worse sooner than I see it getting better.
David, good morning to you and Merry Christmas to you too. Glad you could jump in here and join us real quick. I hope your holidays, Christmas and New Year's, is a good one because it's been a little rough out there for the past couple of years. But that's so we are resolved, Jack, as a race, right? We're resolved to make things happen and to go on. We've been doing that since time began. So it's nothing that we can't overcome. Jack, let's do the NHL real quick. And before I get to that, is there any surprises to you right now? We're at game 30? We're 30 plus right now, and COVID's hitting the teams. A lot of our shorthanded playing, trying to stay competitive. Is there any team that surprised you? I mean, the Bulls maybe the the Cavaliers. Anything surprising you so far this year?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, even though we know they were going to have a good team, the Phoenix Suns have really surprised me, because when a team like that, who hasn't won an NBA championship ever, the Phoenix Suns, they have it within their grasp last year. They get to the NBA Finals. They finally passed the powerhouses like the Lakers, the Clippers, and so on. And then the finals, and up 2-0 against the Milwaukee Bucks. And they can taste that NBA championship. They're on the verge of it, up 2-0, and they let it get away. They lose 4 straight. How do you think it feels to come back the next year and think, and have a mindset, well, we're going to win the NBA championship? I mean, there has to be a hangover, you would think. Yet there's been no hangover with the Phoenix Suns. They're brilliant. They won 18 in a row at one point, and they're focused towards an NBA title this year. Whether they get it or not remains to be seen, because there are a lot of good teams in the NBA. But just the idea that they could show that type of resiliency. They re-signed Chris Paul. There was a little bit of a surprise that he decided to go back to Phoenix. There was speculation that he might even go to the Knicks if they were willing to pay him. So to me, they've been a real, a nice surprise. A team like the Lakers haven't been a negative surprise to me. I never liked the Lakers' chemistry, getting Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, pairing them with LeBron. I just didn't like that to begin with. And but I'm going to tell you something about the NBA, Mac. Teams are treading water in the NBA. All they are is focused on the playoffs for the most part. I mean, everything is geared towards the playoffs, which is a while off. They're resting players. They don't care about home court advantage as much as they did years ago, because even though home court advantage is important, it's not imperative. There's a difference involved. I mean, teams see they can overcome home court advantage if they're a lower seed, and they're more concerned with resting their players and having their players ready at the end of the year. I think that's what's going on with the Denver Nuggets, who had a really good team last year. If Jokic didn't get injured, they may have made a run at the championship. But, it didn't happen for them, and they've gotten off to a slow start. And because there hasn't been an urgency with a lot of teams, put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, a little distracted here. I just got a message I had to take care of real quick. But
I thought you were bored listening to me.
Not at all.
Something else distracted you.
Yes.
I'll be going with the NBA, Mac. I
know. But I've been
the whole landscape.
I've been listening intently. Trust me, Jack. So yes, I agree with almost everything you said. I listen. I really didn't expect the Lakers to do that much this year. Anyway, last year, look, they had the top two, but Anthony Davis gets hurt a lot. And you got LeBron James that has a lot of wear on them tires. He still has, great moments in games, but man, how much you expect this guy to do? And picking up Westbrook, helped. They try to get Westbrook to lighten the load on LeBron. That's why they picked him up. They didn't pick him up to have chemistry with LeBron. They wanted him to kind of replace LeBron when he wasn't on the floor. And it's worked sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't. So, I think the whole thing falls on Anthony Davis, Jack. If Anthony Davis remains healthy and can play at his best, the Lakers have a chance. A chance. They're not guaranteed. They have a chance to get the championship. If he doesn't, I don't care about LeBron. I don't care about Westbrook. They're not going to make it.
Well, Anthony Davis is hurt right now, but keep this in mind. The Lakers won the NBA title couple of years ago with LeBron and Anthony Davis, their key players.
Right.
So now that they have company with Russell Westbrook, I don't want the blame going to Anthony Davis. He's already a proven winner in the NBA. Okay,
I don't know, Jack. Even Charles,
he was NBA champion. NBA champion. They
we're
could even
talking
give
about
him
we're
MVP.
not talking about 2 years ago. We're talking about right now, Jack. Charles Barkley actually came out and called him out too. He said he's not playing inspired basketball. He's not taking it to the hoop. He's not taking over games like he should.
I think he's a little discouraged with the chemistry.
I'm not. That does discourage or not. Anthony Davis is good enough to take over a game, and Barkley's saying, and I agree with him to a point, that if Anthony Davis doesn't pick it up and start dominating games like he could and should, because he's been rated as high as top 3, top 5 player in the league. He hasn't been playing like that yet. So he's, as a forward at that size, with that touch, and as big as he is, he should be able to put up 30, 40 points a game if he wants, 35, 40 points every game if he wants. Right now, he's not doing that. And that's what's going to take it for the Lakers to go to win the championship. Not LeBron and not Westbrook. Anthony Davis has to take over games, and he hasn't been doing it this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that point, expect more from Anthony Davis, but how much more can you expect from him? Maybe, just maybe, we've overrated Anthony Davis's talent just a little bit. Not a lot, a little bit. What, basically think of what Charles Barkley said and think of what you're saying. You're asking him to be a superstar. That's what you're asking. You're saying if you're going to play like the superstar that you're supposed to be, the Lakers are going to be a lot better off. Okay? Right. But maybe he's not a superstar. Maybe he's just a little below that. Maybe he's just a heck of a player. Maybe he's not quite as good as, let's say, a Joel Embiid. Maybe he's that little level below him. Maybe he's giving you what he can give you. And listen, and based on a couple of years ago, didn't he give you a lot? They did win the NBA championship. Let's not forget about it. Let's say, well, that's then, now is now. He's already proven and shown what he can do. Okay? And that's be an NBA champion. He's taken the Lakers to the top of the mountain a lot as being LeBron's co-partner with the Lakers. But now they got other guys, and it's and listen, David Fitzdale, he filled in for Frank Vogel, who had to sit out because of COVID restrictions. Dave Fitzdale, the assistant coach of the LA Lakers, he's been around a while. In a very polite way, he was critical of Russell Westbrook. In a polite way, he's saying Russ is trying to do too much. He shouldn't be trying to carry the whole team himself. And he's saying he just has to play good, solid basketball. He was being polite. That was his way of calling Russell Westbrook out. Yeah. That he's got to fit into the team concept a little more.
Good morning, Carlos. Glad to see you. He's just Anthony Davis is not overrated. He played way too many minutes when he started. Well, so did Michael Jordan.
I don't think he's overrated. I just don't automatically place him in superstar status close.
Listen, I didn't do that, Jack. That's what everybody else did. Everybody was saying he's top 5 in the league. I didn't say he was a superstar. Everyone else did. But the thing I'm saying is right now, LeBron has got a lot of wear on his tires. He ain't what he was when he was younger. Westbrook isn't what he was when he was younger. And Westbrook was picked up, according to GM, to give LeBron breaks, not to take over, not to be a superstar and work with these two guys. The key, and I agree with what Charles Barkley said, the key to the Lakers' success is not LeBron, it's not Westbrook, it's Davis. And if Davis can't start taking over teams, he's still young and in his prime. And if he can't start taking over games, the Lakers are in trouble. That's all I'm saying.
I hate to beat this over and over Russell Westbrook because no one plays harder than Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is not, I repeat, is not a selfish player on the court, even though he once had a hissy fit because he didn't get his triple-double. He plays hard. He wants the team badly to win. I acknowledge that. It's his style of game where superstar players have a hard time blending with him. And the latest, if you want to say Anthony Davis is a superstar, okay, fine. I'll concede that to you. But he has a hard time blending with Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant had a terrible time blending with Russell Westbrook. He had to leave him. Paul George came on board to OKC. even though he and Russell Westbrook became great friends, after 2 years, they weren't blending together on the court. He had to leave. Russell Westbrook goes to Houston. Him and James Harden, they didn't blend that well, really. They got along, but the team didn't fulfill their potential. Then he goes to Washington. Him and Bradley Beal, I'm not saying they didn't get along, but Bradley Beal is playing better this year with Russell Westbrook not on his team. Now he goes to the Lakers and they're struggling with. Russell Westbrook is not a selfish player on the court. He puts team first. I understand it. But sometimes it's a style. A player's individual skills could become a little too overpowering for the team concept. And that's what I think the problem is with Russell Westbrook. It's not an attitude problem. It's actually a skill problem. His skills just don't quite blend in. And if he tries to tone it down, he loses something.
No, I don't know, Jack. I don't know about Russell Westbrook and whether they blend or not. He has had problems going to the championship, that's for sure. But anyway, enough about the Lakers. I don't like the Lakers anyway. So let's get to the NHL. In the standings, this is top 4 in each division. So in the East, you got Tampa Bay at 20-6, Toronto at 28, the Panthers at 20-18. That don't even sound right. It should be 19-18. Sorry, Detroit at 15-13. In the Metropolitan Division, you have the Hurricanes at 21-7, Capitals at 18-6, the Rangers at 19-7, the Penguins at 17-8. The West Conference Central, you have the Wild at 19-9, the Predators at 19-10, the Blues at 17-9, the Avalanche at 17-8. In the Pacific Division, the Knights at 20-12, the Ducks at 17-9, the Flames at 15-7, and the Oilers at 18-11. There were no games last night, Jack. They're kind of taking a pause till after Christmas to see if the COVID kind of comes down. And the NHL team will not be going to the Beijing Olympics because of the COVID. So that's the news on top of that. It's the same thing to me with the NHL, right? You got over 30 games played, and you're starting to see the teams that dominate starting to come up again. Tampa Bay's up on top. The Knights are on top. The Capitals are hanging in there. You have the Wild is the biggest surprise to me right now in first place. But 3 of the teams that I thought were going to be there at the end are already there and getting better. And there's teams that were there that are getting worse. And hockey is a crazy game, Jack. It only takes a couple of guys to move to one team to another for your team to get a lot better or a lot worse. And of course, I'm talking about the Islanders right now. It's almost unwatchable right now. We might be having Carter coming in today. We'll see what happens, with Christmas and all that.
I think COVID is going to throw everything off again because I think the NHL schedule is going to start again, stop again, start again, stop again. And if you recall a couple of years ago, the Philadelphia Flyers was good as any team in the NHL, and then they had that delay because of COVID, and they wind up losing to the Islanders in the playoffs. So they were really hurt by that delay. But one thing about the NHL, even if things played out like normal during the regular season, you get surprises in the playoffs all the time, just about. I mean, the only thing this year, that's been going the way it should, the Seattle Kraken, an expansion team. People didn't want to see them do as well as Las Vegas did when they were an expansion team, too quick, too soon to get to the top. So they don't mind an expansion team being in last place. The Islanders off to a surprisingly slow start. And, Tampa Bay finally gets to first place. Toronto's at their heels. Most people feel they're the 2 best teams there in the Atlantic, along with Florida. Detroit struggled a lot last year, and they were off to a reasonably, good start this year. And, the Rangers have been a big surprise, a really big surprise. I don't think even the most enthusiastic Ranger fan would have predicted they'd be doing as well. as they have at this point, in the year. I mean, 19 wins, 7 losses, 4 ties. And listen, the Islanders have been cellar dwellers, but they might catch the Devils soon. But, Devils got off to a decent start, but now they're kind of trending a little backwards. But the Devils have, they have some good young talent there. So the Devils have really a bit of a bright future. I think in a couple of years, the Devils are going to be a playoff team.
Yeah. Listen, I guess you're right. I mean, I don't follow the Devils that closely, but
How
again,
many people do? At the provincial center, they're not the most charismatic team. They have nice uniforms, though.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of New Jersey Devil fans up here and where I'm from. I mean, there's some in New York, Philadelphia, and stuff like that. Listen, I mean, at one time they had a real good team. So
they've got to be older fans back with the glory days, when they won 3 cups. I mean, those were the days.
A lot of their kids, root for them, the parents, the kids of the parents. But anyway, I guess I'm not surprised that the NHL team is not going to Beijing. And Beijing's in trouble, Jack. I mean, China's having the Olympics, and it looks like a lot of countries aren't going to be coming. I mean, if I was, I guess I wouldn't want to go either. So does China get a redo, or is that it? That's your shot. You're done, man.
No, not with the Olympics. It's not the most popular place to hold the Olympics at this time of year. And no matter where the Olympics were going to be held, there's always a concern, with COVID. Is there going to be a new outbreak? And there's talk as far as human rights in China. The United States isn't going to have diplomatic relations during the Olympics, whatever, that means. But at least they're not automatically boycotting a team. Somehow you get the feeling, Mac, that the NHL is relieved to have an excuse not to send the players to Beijing. This is the excuse, the COVID, the this, the that. We can pull out because maybe it's not the most popular place to hold the Olympics. And also that gap of a couple of weeks, they could maybe redo their schedule and reschedule games during that time. Perhaps if they wanted to, even though it wouldn't be the most ethical thing to do, reschedule NHL games, during that time. But you get the feeling maybe it gave the NHL a convenient excuse to back off.
Well, I'm no fan of China, but I can imagine States of the United States, and we have we have the Olympic schedule, and this happens. And of course, people wouldn't be sending their teams here either. And all that money that you invested in building the Olympic villages and this, I mean, and they lose money anyway. I mean, a lot of those things stay up forever and they never get used again. But can you imagine all that money you spent to do this, all the hours, and now you're not gonna have anybody coming? That's got to be devastating, Jack. That's why I was talking about a redo. I mean, all that money invested. I know
the hockey's still going to go on, Mac, right? Just not the NHL isn't involved.
No, I'm saying the Olympics itself. That I guarantee you, a lot of countries aren't going to send their athletes to Beijing. So what I'm saying is, all that money that was invested by the country, the host country, and they lose money anyway. And all the stuff they built and all the hours they put into building these things, the villages, the stadiums, the arenas, I mean, that's all for nothing. And that's why I thought about maybe a redo. I mean, if I was hosting the Olympics this year and they said all this COVID hit and nobody's coming, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute, man. We really didn't have the Olympics. My country and maybe somebody next door, that's not an Olympic. So I'd feel for any country that put all this work and time and money into it, and they're really not going to have an Olympics. That's kind of crazy.
It's the worst investment a country can make, hosting the Olympics. Terrible investment, because you have 16 days of competition where the world is maybe focused on you, and then it's all over.
Yeah.
And you have all these stadiums, all this upkeep, you put all this money into it, and you're losing a lot of money, these countries, during the Olympics. They lose an awful lot of money. And I think they kind of just want to host a big party, Mac. It's
Yeah.
like you're taking it's like taking a chunk out of your bank account, Mac, because you want to host a party at a restaurant or whatever, and have one big bash. But then when the smoke clears, you look and your bank account is less, the party's done, and as time goes by, people hardly remember it in a
Yeah.
certain sense. And
Yeah.
I think China's got money. I mean, that's not a problem of theirs.
Yeah, but
And I think they just want to host the world, show off their country,
of course.
the better points. It's a great PR thing for them to have. And that's why countries do it. Once in a while, if a country hosts an event, even though it might lose some money, it could pay off. Look, it wasn't an Olympic event, but when Ali fought George Foreman in Zaire, we still talk about Zaire. I mean, who would be mentioning the name Zaire in relation to sports if it wasn't Ali and Foreman?
Good point.
But the name Zaire, lives on, in sports fans' minds because of the Ali Foreman fight.
Well, I imagine if you run your country as a business, which is very hard to do because of the way the countries are set up, of course. But I mean, you expect a loss, right? It's sort of like having a business in Times Square. You lose money because of the rent and because of the cost and everything. They write it off. They know they're going to lose money, but the advertising of all those millions of people going through Times Square looking at those businesses, they use it almost as an advertisement, like you're saying, they're advertising their country, Jack. So I guess that's how you would have to look at it when you're hosting the Olympics. I would imagine, because you're not gonna make money off the Olympics. Even doesn't matter how many contracts with the networks you get. And
listen,
really,
I was on vacation in Squaw Valley, not in Squaw Valley itself. I was in Reno. I took a bus tour. Squaw Valley, California was right on the border. So we passed by there, we got out, and that was the site of the 1960 Olympics. I was there in like 1999, and I remember being fascinated looking around. Same thing if you're upstate New York, Lake Placid. You walk around the shops, you try to visualize, this is where the Olympics were held. So I suppose it's always a little bit of a tourist attraction for people. If I'm in the area and I'm by Lake Placid, yeah, I wouldn't mind stopping by, looking around in a couple of the shops. I mean, it's obviously not the same as it was, but you kind of tried to visualize a little bit. But once again, with this particular Olympics in Beijing, it's becoming a little political as well. The whole idea of the Olympics is supposed to be to have goodwill between the countries through athletics.
It's been political.
The
Olympics have been political since almost time began. So, I mean, that will never change, I don't think. So let's get into the NFL playoff races and the games. Tuesday night's game, the Eagles run all over the Washington Redskins 27-17, and the Rams double the Seahawks 20-10. Of course, the biggest news, I don't know if it's biggest news, there's been talk of it all year, is, this may be it for Russell Wilson in Seattle. He complained about it last year. The team is not having a good year this year. He was hurt. What do you think, Jack? Do you think Russell Wilson is going to start shopping for another team, or does he stay put in Seattle and ride it out?
I don't think it's his choice. I don't think he's a free agent. The Seahawks have to agree to trade him.
Yeah, but if he wants to be traded, Jack, if he's going to give him a hard time, they're going to trade him. There's no doubt about that.
It depends the direction that they're going in. Don't assume that Pete Carroll won't be the coach next year.
Mm-hmm.
If Pete Carroll's the coach next year, they might want to reset, not a redo with the team. They still have some pieces there. Maybe they believe they can win next year. And if their mindset is winning, now rebuilding, you want to come back with Russell Wilson, because who else is going to quarterback that team? Don't tell me you're going to have Geno Smith still on the roster quarterbacking. And you could talk about drafting a quarterback. Projections right now are only 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. And I remember what you said last year, Mac, that made a lot of sense. You didn't like the crap of first-round quarterbacks last year. People tend to look who are the best quarterbacks in college, and they think teams should draft them. They should look instead, are these guys good enough to be excellent NFL quarterbacks? That's what they should be looking at more than anything. And maybe none of the guys who are coming out for the draft, have the potential to really be very good NFL quarterbacks. So where are you going to get a quarterback from if you don't have Russell Wilson? Okay. And, it all depends on what packages, what they want to do. If they get a new coach, Seattle, odds are they're going to move on from Russell Wilson because he's been with Pete Carroll like his whole career. So that's going to be like all of a sudden a reset for Russell Wilson. Go elsewhere. Everyone is starting new coach, new quarterback. They tear the whole thing up in Seattle and start new. But if Pete Carroll is back, I think Russell Wilson is back. And there's talk of Russell Wilson going to the Giants, which reportedly he agreed to. I mean, is it going to be that much better with the Giants than Seattle? Also, Russell Wilson, unless Russell Wilson badly feels he needs a change of scenery, unless he's just tired of quarterbacking the Seattle Seahawks, he just feels he's got to go elsewhere, and it has to be like an enthusiasm thing. But Russell Wilson's name absolutely is going to get rumored, and, we'll see what plays out. I mean, the bigger fish out there, will Aaron Rodgers be on the market at the end of the year?
That's another great question, too. I mean, if you think about it, Aaron Rodgers in the offseason would want it out. If they go to the Super Bowl, Jack, good question. If they go to the Super Bowl, maybe win it, or even if they lose it, does he come back next year with the Packers?
I don't think so. If they win the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers might want to just leave in the blaze of glory, say the heck with you. Aaron Rodgers doesn't let go of things easy.
Yeah, but what's he going to do? If he leaves the Packers, what better team are going to go to without a starting quarterback that doesn't have a starting quarterback? I mean, you can't go to the Bucks. You're not going to be able to go to the Rams. They just signed him. What, San Fran? I don't know. I mean, maybe
San Francisco jump on him, and they don't really have the chips to make a deal. I mean, they could trade Garoppolo or Trey Lance. I mean, yeah, look, if Aaron Rodgers went to the 49ers, Garoppolo, Trey Lance, they're not seeing the field.
I agree.
So Trey Lance would probably go to the Packers, but the 49ers don't have the draft picks. They gave it up in the Trey Lance deal. The Rams gave up basically their capital in the Trey Lance deal, and they're not going to give up starting defensive linemen, for example. They're not going to give up an Aaron Donald for Aaron Rodgers. Can you imagine a blockbuster deal or a one-on-one deal? The Rams give Aaron Donald up and maybe something else for Aaron Rodgers. That would throw you upside down.
Yeah, they just signed their quarterback last year, Jack. I mean,
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, why would they go after Aaron Rodgers?
Well, Stafford and Aaron Donald for Aaron Rodgers and someone else, maybe. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head.
I mean, Carlos says, San Francisco, Las Vegas. Las Vegas, maybe so. I mean, listen, Derek Carr is not bad. He's a good quarterback. He's no Aaron Rodgers, but he's a good quarterback. I'm just thinking of teams.
You're right. Where could he go?
What would be a better team? What I'm trying to say than Green Bay. Green Bay's built to win a championship.
What happens if he goes to the Baltimore Ravens and they move on from Lamar Jackson?
That ain't happening.
I mean, there are possibilities there.
That won't happen.
I mean, he's going to want to go to a team. What about wait? What about Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, right, the Steelers, maybe.
I mean, under Coach Tomlin, they're always going to be competitive, and I don't know. I just don't know. Aaron Rodgers, it wouldn't shock me. It depends how much he wants to play football. It wouldn't shock me if he would retire, unless the urge is still overwhelming to play. That's the thing about it. But you're right. Situations we're like in our head trying to figure things out. Where can he go? What team can win next year? Because Aaron Rodgers had it put into his contract to come back. He becomes a free agent at the end of the year. He came back on that condition. What about the Cleveland Browns, arguably? Okay, I mean, they have
maybe.
pieces, running back, receiver.
And you got Baker coming up on his contract, so that might be a spot in Cleveland. Does he want to play there? Another question is, where does he want to play, and does he want to win right away? I imagine if he did leave the Packers, I imagine the Packers are going to offer him an extension. I would imagine that. Whether he takes it or not, I don't know. But I mean, is there a better team suited to go to the Super Bowl than Green Bay right now? I mean, I don't think Cleveland's suited to Green Bay. That's going to be the question. Is his personal feelings hurt from over the year, from last year, have them healed somewhat? And is there a team better than Green Bay suited to go to Super Bowl next year? I don't know.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers had a falling out with his own family. Okay, where I don't know, is he talking to them now, what the thing is, but he had a fallout, and it became somewhat public. His brother, who played football, made comments on it. Right. You know, also, but they've quieted down the family. Good thing for that. Because stuff like that you don't like seeing made public.
Right.
And he could be a stubborn guy, Aaron Rodgers. And winning the Super Bowl would be the perfect time for him to say goodbye. It would say, look, I proved my point. And the Packers would still be begging him to stay. But he would say, look, you drafted someone else. You moved up in the draft to replace me. Now I'm leaving on my terms because you were going to get rid of me when you had, you were looking for an opportunity to get rid of me. Now I'm leaving. Or he's going to make them give him such an astronomical long-term contract that would make no sense for the Packer organization, yet they would still do it to keep him here. In other words, he'll bust their chops, man.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting in the off year. A lot of quarterbacks, whether they're going to be playing next year or not, or where they're going to be playing. I think there are going to be some changes. So let's get to the playoff picture. In the AFC, which is really interesting to me because you have certain teams that I think are already in, right? I think the Chiefs are already in. There's whether it's playoffs, wise wild card, or division, they're in. So let's go through it real quick, Jack. Right in the AFC East, you have the Patriots at 9-5, the Bills at 8-6. Miami is hanging in there at 7-7. They've got a better chance than most 7-7 teams to get in. In the West, you got the Chiefs at 10-4. The Chargers, who I think they're just as good as the Chiefs to me, at 8-6 there. Denver and Las Vegas, I mean, that is almost impossible. They're almost impossible for them to get it. So we're not going to count them. So far we got the Patriots, the Bills. We'll include Miami for the case of discussion. You got the Chiefs and the Chargers. In the North, the Bengals and Ravens are tied at 8-6. The Bengals have the tiebreaker. And believe it or not, the Steelers have a better chance of getting in the playoffs than Cleveland. Cleveland losing that game to the Las Vegas Raiders almost has knocked themselves right out of the playoffs. They have barely a chance at all to get in. So we're not going to count Cleveland. I know you picked them as Super Bowl contenders. So did I, believe it or not. But it doesn't look it looks almost impossible that they're going to make it.
I wouldn't discount them.
Jack, I'm telling you, that last loss to the Raiders has knocked them lower than any other 7-7 team.
Wasn't that unfair, Mac? They were forced because of the COVID restrictions to play with a third-string quarterback. They couldn't even play with their backup Case Keenum. They would have won the game even with their backup Case Keenum.
Listen, that was the rules in the beginning of the year. Everybody knew it. So it's that unfair to everybody. The Ravens played with their second string quarterback and almost beat Green Bay.
But Cleveland played with their third string. They couldn't even play with their second string quarterback.
Well,
they would have won Case Keenum.
Baltimore's second string is a rookie that walk on. So I mean, listen, it is what it is. That's where the game.
He was a fifth-round draft choice, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he was a walk on to college. I'm talking about.
Oh, college, yeah, sure.
So in the South, Jack, you have Tennessee and the Colts. So division is still up for grabs. So this is what I have. You got the Chiefs, of course, at 10-4. They're leading the division. They're leading all the teams right now, but they haven't wrapped it up yet. And then you got the Patriots that are sitting at the second seed right now with 9 wins. And then you got the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills, the Chargers, all sitting at 8-6. That's your teams right now. Those are your teams. Miami has the best shot at 7-7. The Steelers are second at 7-6-1 because they have the tiebreakers. So to me, those are what you got for the AFC. That's your playoff guys right there. We're going to make some predictions.
Miami is not going to make the playoffs. I
Maybe
think
not.
Miami, they're really not a strong team. Credit to them. They've won 6 in a row. You know, a couple of those games were against the Jets, and those were even tough games for Miami. I mean, they play New Orleans this week, considering how New Orleans defense came alive against Tampa Bay. I see Tua struggling in that game, and I just don't see Miami. They're 7-7 right now. I see them finishing something like 8-9 and not making the playoffs. I mean, they've had their run, but I wouldn't take it seriously.
Listen, Jack. The Saints always beat Tampa Bay in the regular season. Always. Last couple of years, they just beat them. I don't know why. They just do. Teams for some reason have other teams. So let's get to the NFC right now. You have Dallas at 10-4. The Eagles are still alive with their win against the Redskins. In the West, Arizona was destroyed by Detroit, and them and the Rams are tied at 10-4 right now. Arizona, believe it or not, has a tiebreaker there. Then you got the 49ers surging right now are 8-6. And of course, Green Bay is in. They're 11-3. Minnesota's hanging on by a thread at 7-7. They've got to win out. And of course, you got the Bucks, and you mentioned the Saints. The Saints have the best possibility next to the Vikings and the Eagles. The Eagles have the best, followed by the Vikings and the Saints of getting in at 7-7. There's 26 teams, Jack, alive still mathematically. I'm just trying to give you the best odds of the teams that are going to get there. So, of course, you got Green Bay at 11-3. They're in. They're in the playoffs. Then you followed by Tampa and the Dallas that have 4 losses. And then you got a lot of 7-7 teams.
Mac, I think it's more than getting in. Like you point out, well, Green Bay is in, Kansas City's going to be, and they're looking for the bye, Mac. That bye means a lot. It means you have to play one less playoff game to get to the Super Bowl. And believe me, that's a big thing. And you also have home field throughout the playoffs. You're playing one less game and home field throughout the playoffs. Does it mean you get to the Super Bowl? Well, listen, look at the way it played out last year. Tampa Bay won all 3 games on the road. They didn't get a bye to get to the Super Bowl. And ironically, they had the Super Bowl at home, even though it was in front of an empty stadium in Tampa Bay. But the Chiefs had a bye last year in the playoffs, and then had both playoff games at home and won both at home. So it benefited them. And Green Bay is a tough place to go into and win. I mean, any team can win anywhere, of course. But believe me, that's on their mind. Make the teams come into Green Bay, especially a warm weather team. Last year, warm weather team Tampa Bay went into Green Bay and actually won there. But that's more an exception to the rule than being the rule.
Yeah, listen. I'll tell you this. Now, these are I'll give you my predictions, and folks, we'll have Rick coming up, Rick Kleski, at 9:00. So right after the commercial break, Rick will be on. So stay tuned for author Rick Kleski, Muhammad Ali and me, author of that book. It'll be interesting. He's from Connecticut, just like I am. So I can't wait to get him on. So anyway, folks, Jack, let's go with some predictions here. Right, this is what I think. Yeah, your division winners, I have Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and the Rams. I think are going to win them those divisions. And then the wild cards, I got San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Arizona.
Well, you got to take a look at strength of schedule in front of you to project.
Nope.
You know, you're just going off the top of your head how strong teams are this year. Look, in all due respect, the Pags, the Eagles at 7-7, they're not a strong team. I mean, can the Eagles win 2 of their next 3? They're not going to win their next 3.
Well, they're going to play the Giants. Listen, they got the Giants. They got the Cowboys and the Redskins on Washington again. So they can win. They can beat the Giants and the Skins again, or the
Chances are they're going to lose to one of them.
Yeah,
they're going to lose to either the
no.
Giants or the Skins. They're going to go 1-1 there and lose to the Cowboys. That's the odds that we're looking at. So we're looking realistically at the Eagles going 8-9.
They're going to beat Washington, and they're going to beat the Giants. Jack, they're in. There's no doubt in my mind. But you can pick against them if you want.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you take it week to week, but
yeah, of course you do. But
you think the Giants are going to win another game this year?
No, not at all.
If you don't, okay. If you feel they're going to win one game out of their remaining 3, what better game to win than beating the Philadelphia Eagles?
I hope they do. I hope they do. But do I really expect that? No. So those are my 7 teams, Jack. What do you got? Don't give me no excuses.
I'm not listing all the teams. Look, I'm going to tell you point blank. Okay, Cowboys obviously have the division locked up. I don't think the Eagles, Redskins, I mean Washington football team, are going to make it. And Minnesota, I'll tell you, Minnesota's erratic at 7-7. I could see Minnesota sneaking into the playoffs. I really can. New Orleans at 7-7. I could see them maybe sneaking into the playoffs, and getting eliminated quickly. Obviously, Arizona, the Rams, the 49ers, I could see them getting into the playoffs. The question is, who's the most dangerous teams if they get into the playoffs, okay?
Well, you gave me 8 teams, Jack. You can only have 7, man. So you're saying I agree with you. Anybody could. They're still mathematically alive. I want your favorites. I want your favorites to get in there. I know you're going to pick all the 4 division leaders, but right now Arizona and the Rams are tied for the division lead. And Arizona looks like
okay. So one of them is going to get in as a wild card.
Okay,
either the Rams to Arizona. That's one. I would say the 49ers are going to get in because they have a 1-game lead over the others at 8-6. So it's going to come down between New Orleans and Minnesota for the last spot.
And the Eagles.
And the NFC, if I had to say between New Orleans and Minnesota, I'm going to give a little lean to New Orleans. Maybe because that awesome defensive effort against the Buccaneers is so fresh in my mind. Listen, I saw the Viking game against the Bears. I watched that game, and the Bears were so poorly coached that game. I mean, I was never against Matt Nagy. I never wanted to see him get fired. I don't like seeing anyone get fired, but I wasn't against the job he was doing so much because they were 8-8 last year, the Bears, and made the playoffs. But so many foolish penalties. There was such a lack of discipline with that bad team that and that's related to the coaching, unfortunately. So it doesn't look good for Matt Nagy there. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're a Giant fan, you should want the Bears to lose. You have their number 1 draft pick, and that looks like it's going to be a good pick.
Might be, right?
Hey, you have your own number 1 pick. That's going to be a good pick, and the bad pick. You're going to have 2 picks in the top 10.
Yes.
In the draft. I mean, that is a nice thing. Okay, we're talking about the AFC now.
AFC. Now, wait a minute. Let me go first. The AFC, right? Of course, I've got Kansas City in there. I've got the Chargers in there. I think if Kansas City was playing the Chargers again, I'd give them a shot to win the division. But I don't think they will because I think they're not playing again. So, or are they playing again? No, they're not.
AC has a 2-game lead. That Chargers aren't catching them.
Right. If they played them again, they would. Trust me. But anyway, I've got the Chiefs getting in as a division winner. I've got the Pats getting in as a division winner. The Bengals as a division winner. That's a tough one. And I think the Colts will get in as a division winner. I think they're going to overtake Tennessee. That's my opinion right now. Tennessee's playing so bad. The Colts are playing so good. And they got a 2-game lead. I think the Colts will catch them. So my division winners are going to be, again, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Colts, and, of course, Kansas City. Kansas City, the Colts, the Bengals. Who am I missing here? South. All right. South, the East, the Pats. So those are my 4 division winners. In the wild card, I got the Chargers, the Bills. It's tough. The Chargers, the Bills, and I guess Tennessee. The Ravens may make it too. So that's going to be me. That's what I got. That's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard one.
Oh, AFC's tough.
I mean, Kansas City is the division leaders in the AFC. In the AFC East, obviously, it's coming down to New England and Buffalo, and they're playing this weekend. If New England wins, it's all over. They're winning the division. Case closed. If Buffalo wins, they actually technically go into first place. But with the tight end Cole Beasley out and them having lost prior to New England, it's going to be a tough go for Buffalo. So let's say New England is going to win the division there. The AFC North is a mishmash. Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be there at the end. I haven't lost faith in Cleveland winning their last 3 games. Going to have to beat Green Bay this weekend. I'm keeping my faith in Cleveland. They're going to have players back. I know it's crazy, but I'm keeping my faith in the Browns to somehow get in as a wild card. I think Baltimore is going to overtake Cincinnati and win the division, get it together. So I like New England winning the AFC East, Baltimore, the AFC North. Tennessee they're 1 game ahead of Indianapolis. They have a tiebreaker. So Tennessee should be able to hold off Indianapolis, I would think, because if Indianapolis would have to make up 2 games with 3 remaining to win that division, that's a big mountain. I think they'll make up 1 game. And if they're tied, Tennessee gets the tiebreaker. And, of course, Kansas City has a division locked up. So who are the 3 wild card teams going to be? I have to believe Buffalo, when all's said and done, is going to be one of them. Even if they lose to New England this weekend, they go 8-7. They could win their next 2, be 10-7. They're just too good not to be in the playoffs. That's crazy. The Bills missing the playoffs. I have to feel they're one team that's going to get in there. I think in an absolute shocker, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to win their last 3 games. They're going to big upset of the Packers. They're going to get in as a wild card behind Baltimore. That's my feeling there. And then I think it's going to be the Indianapolis, getting in there as the 3rd wild card. And I think the LA Chargers, in a crazy way, are going to be our team out. I'm not as high as them as you think. They're an improved team. But I think when all's said and done, they're going to be a 9-8. They're 8-6 now. They're going to be 9-8 when all is said and done. And I think they're going to slip out of the playoff picture at the end. But they're still a team on the rise. They're still the team of the future.
That's a bold prediction.
Big things for that going forward, but not really this year. And I discount teams like the Raiders and the Broncos. Technically, they're very much alive, but I'm not like too high on either one.
No, I agree. I just think Cleveland's a reach compared to the Chargers.
Cleveland is a reach, but listen,
they're going to lose.
The Atlantic Braves were a reach all year long for me, and I stuck with them, and they won the World Series.
Hey, listen, they're going to lose to Green Bay next game. Cleveland's all set.
I think that's a big upset. Provided they, if they have to play with their 3rd string quarterback, yeah, of course the Packers will beat them. But listen, I like Cleveland. They'll have their players back
we'll see.
Sunday, supposedly. You're going to see what they're capable of doing against an elite team.
That's possible. Anything's possible, Jack. And there's, like I said, there's 26 teams alive. I just think that, there's certain teams that I think are definitely going to be in there, and certain teams that are not, even though they're playing. Even some teams that are playing well, I don't think are going to make it. So, folks, we're going to take our first official break. Coming up after the break, we're going to have author Rick Kelski in. Am I saying it right, Jack? Kelski? You're muted. You're muted still, Jack. This is the best. This is the best I've heard you all day, buddy.
You've got to put, if you know, if I'm holding his book up now, Rick
Beautiful.
Gillespie's, what he's got to do, Rick, you got to get your name in bigger letters here. I'm not searching for the author's name. I know who it is.
Yes.
I'm looking for it. Oh, there it is in red letters, hidden, really hidden.
There you go.
Richard Koletsky. I call him
Yes,
Rick.
Richard Koletsky is going to be coming in with Ali and me right after. Can't hear you, Rick, you're below, but we will hear you right after these messages from our people that kind of help pay for the show. But Rick will be in right after this, folks. Please stick with us as we get to talk about his relationship with the great Muhammad Ali. It should be awesome. We'll be right back after these messages, folks.
You worked too hard, you ate too much, the cheesecake made you greedy. Let your aching head and stomach hear this message from old Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Those Speedy bubbles relieve your upset stomach and headache fast. For acid indigestion alone, Alka-Seltzer Gold. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
My baloney has a first name, it's O-S-C-A-R. My baloney has a second name, it's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. If you ask me what I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-L-O-G-N-A.
Oscar Mayer, the first name in Bologna.
How's that?
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma.
I love you too. Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. Happy place. A clean and happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. Your kind of place.
McDonald's believes in getting food to your kids before they get to each other. Such good food, too. McDonald's famous French fries, triple thick creamy shakes, lean beefy cheeseburgers and hamburgers, icy cold soft drinks. And here's a plus, spill-proof lids on all beverages. Another plus, napkins that are big as a bib. Quality, cleanliness, extra care service. That's McDonald's. A total value that's unmatched anywhere.
McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place.
Your kind of place.
If the dark and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to him?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch. And we got a real special guest coming up right now, Jack. He wrote not a biography, but his relationship with Muhammad Ali over the years. We started with a postcard as a fan, and he ended up meeting Ali and going to his birthday and all kinds of great stuff. And, you know, this is a great story to me. And I'm glad we got Rick to come on and talk to us about it a little bit. So let me bring his name up here, and then I'm going to bring Rick up. Let's see. Where are you, Rick? Let me see if I can find you. Boom, 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 boom. Well, let's bring him up. I'll bring his name up here in a minute.
There you go.
Hey, how you doing, Rick? Your mic is off. If you can unmute it. There you go. There you go. How you doing, my friend?
I'm fine. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I will correct the postcard concept in a moment. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. So that's what I read, that you sent a postcard to him back when you were in junior high, and that he answered.
Incorrect.
Okay.
I'm used to Mac getting his facts wrong, Rick, but why don't you correct us?
Okay. And I can tell you about why the book cover is the way it is later. But in around 1963, when I was 15 years old, I thought it was time to talk to this Cassius Clay guy. And the first part here, kids today will not understand, because you could be social media-ing all around the world at the same time. A long-distance call in 1963 was a big deal. People would say, right, don't take too long, or, oh, he's on the call. I didn't want to get my parents angry. I went down to the basement in New Haven of our home. I called directory assistance for Cassius Clay. It was listed because that's his dad's name. And I called collect so my parents wouldn't be angry. It sounds crazy now. And he accepted the call. And I explained a little bit about where I was from and why I thought he was cool. And he said, and I can't really do his voice, but it was something like, "You heard about me all the way up there in Connecticut?" That was the first call. That was Ricky, as my old friends still call me, calling Cassius. And although we'll tie things up in a moment, here's a nice bookend. Roughly 20 years later, I get Ali on the phone, and I had met him in between and had spoken with him, and I'm sure we'll speak about that. I got him on the phone with Bingham, Howard Bingham, his best friend, the famous photographer. I said, you won't necessarily remember my name, but I mentioned some times that I had met him, and I told him I was somewhat close with Angelo. I explained that I wrote a book, and as you so well put it, it's not a bio. It's about the little boy growing up and getting to meet the guy, etc. I explained that it was to my dad's memory, and it was this is trite but true, a labor of love. I want to send it to him. Would he kindly drop me a line? Well, I sent him the book, and roughly a week later, roughly 20 years after Ricky called Cassius, the phone rang at 1:30 in the morning, and now you've got the married guy You've got Rick, and I hear on the other side, again around 1:30. This is Muhammad Ali. Got your book right here. One other call that I'll mention for the moment, and there have been several, was in 1984 when our daughter was born. And I apologize if I don't have this angled right.
There you go. Now you're looking good.
Thank you. In 1984, our daughter was born, and we had hard copy birth announcements. My family is extremely small. My wife's is small. We bought a minimal number. We were about to throw a few away, literally away. And I said, let's put it in an envelope. No way he sees it. He's got to get a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of people around him. But what's the difference? My wife stayed home from work. She was a special ed teacher. I went to work. I worked for a federal OSHA in those days in Hartford. And she called me about 10:30 in the morning, and she did a wise guy kind of thing that I often do with her. I start a conversation in the middle, and she just said, "Oh, well, you missed the call." What call? Just this Muhammad Ali heard you had a little girl. That's a nice bookend, and there's plenty in between and even afterwards.
That's pretty cool, Rick. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, Muhammad Ali was, probably the biggest sports personality in the world as the reigning champion. I mean, you could put him up there with Babe Ruth what he did in baseball, and some others, Michael Jordan, maybe of the nearer superstars. But the heavyweight champion in the world, and there was only one at one time. There wasn't three or four or whatever, but easily the most recognized and the most influential, I would think, sports personality of his era, Rick.
Yeah. I mentioned that the book was dedicated to my dad's memory. There's a good story there. In the 50s and the 60s, Dad and I watched Blue Blade commercials and the others. We watched black and white TV. Rory Calhoun, Spider Webb, maybe Holly Mims, Chico Vijar, certainly Gaspar Ortega, who I became friendly with. And unfortunately, Gaspar took the Big Ten just a few days ago. I put some stuff in the book about growing up and watching that with my dad. And I went off to college in 1966 to Clark University in Worcester. At some point, Ali was set to fight Zora Fali March 22nd, 1967. And my dad was generally an easy mark. If I said I saw a shirt that I like, I'd have to say, one, Dad, one, because he'd buy me five. He just was terrific. And I said to him, this is it. My guy, so to speak, is fighting in the Garden in a few months. And I've always lived in the New Haven area, so you can get perspective. And I was very surprised. He said to me, Rick, you're going to be at school in Massachusetts. You're coming back for one holiday, coming back for the big break. Then I had what's called independent study, then going back to Massachusetts. Then we'd have to go to New York City, then come back. I was surprised he said this, but he said, let's wait. And I promise that Ali will fight in the Garden one day and you'll be there. It was good enough for me. Well, Ali doesn't fight for 42 months. In February of 1970, my father passes away. So this ain't happening, to use high-tech grammar. However, when Ali Frazier won was announced, and I believe the cheapest tickets were $20. That's hard to believe now.
No, I sat in the last row.
Yeah, I was next to the last row. In fact, only one row behind us. We put a guy on a train, and we said, don't come back unless you come back with the 10 tickets. 10. And I think it was Jerry Eisenberg, someone of that, a contemporary of his, said on one of the documentaries later, it was the toughest ticket in America. Well, we had 10. And when we got there and sat down and tried to take it easy among all the hubbub, and we dressed fancy, at some point I took a deep breath and I thought of my dad. He had it. That was cool.
You have an Ali museum that's really located in your home, and I had the privilege of visiting, one time. And how do you maintain it? Doesn't space become an issue after a while? Because I know a buddy of mine, the late Hank Kaplan, who had the most archives in boxing worldwide, far and away. He had to buy a new house to store all his memorabilia. And eventually, when Hank passed, he willed all his archives to Brooklyn College, and they have it there in their library. It's called the Kaplan Collection. I mean, the more Ali things that you come upon, I mean, how do you fit it in? You know, space has got to be an issue.
Well, you've seen it, and it has not expanded much in square feet. My mini lobby's a little bigger, but we have, I guess you'd say, a nice home, but the garage is under the house. It's built in. That knocks out half of the lower level. Throw in an oil tank, a furnace, etc. There's not a lot of other room, but so you're getting the right picture. And Jack has seen this. This isn't just thrown up. It is mainly in a separate room, and it is a fully finished room. If you take that with the mini lobby, it's maybe only 400 square feet, but I've improved lighting. I'm always working on sight lines. And here's an interesting thing. There's a guy I know who has a lot of Mets stuff, Mets memorabilia. And by the way, I'm not a memorabilia expert. I have friends who are. They know what something is worth, if a signature is real, when a signature changed. That's not my thing. I knew he had a lot of Met stuff, and he knew I had Ali stuff. And several years ago, someone's got to make the move. So he came over. And at that point, my museum was maybe just 2/3 of what it is now. I mean, as far as what's in it and the setup, the size couldn't change much. He looked around and he said that he was blown away. And I said, I really appreciate that. You made my day. But to be fair, you have your Met stuff. And he said, no, I got all kinds of Met stuff, but a lot of value in drawers, in piles. When you come into my place, we got mostly the listing stuff here, videos here, books here, print ads here, playbills and other things relating to operas, movies, plays that Ali's been in or that were about him. Then we have the non-Ali section, where I go back to Joe Gans and Sam Langford, and beyond that, I have the famous trainer's wall. I've got programs and press kits besides the Ali stuff in that area, all kinds of boxing equipment. So I try hard. And relating to how do I fit things in? For instance, if I had one more thing right now, I don't know where I'd put a big poster. I don't know what I would do. Someone might say, even with a small item, you're going to go downstairs, you'll be upstairs in 5 minutes. There's no way, because not only do I have to find where it fits, I have to find not just geometrically where it fits. Is this the section it belongs in? I've got one section that's games and things like that relate to Ali. So I try really hard. I keep it really clean. And Jack, I've got to tell you, when COVID is down the road, it's got a lot more. It's a lot better than when you saw it last. It's a fun diversion. Oh, I should say one more thing. I even picked up at a tag sale. It must have been that somebody bought out a department store. I have a mannequin. It's about Ali's size. And I've got a robe on him that is a facsimile. It wasn't expensive, of what he wore for the Henry Cooper fight. I believe the first one, whatever it is, when he wore the red one. I've got a towel around his neck. I've got tassels on his shoes that I got. And he is standing there. You see him from the back, and it looks like a guy named Cassius came over from the other side just to watch over everything.
You know, Rick, you obviously have tremendous admiration for Ali with everything you've done with the museum, the book, but you're not an Ali fanatic. I could say that in my conversations with you. And I have to tell you, Mac is a Joe Frazier guy all the way. Okay, too. So, and we've talked about Ali's conduct, you know, his behavior towards Frazier. And you haven't been an apologist for, you know, the way Ali's acted. Can you, enlighten us a little?
Definitely. First of all, this would have come in somewhere. I wrote this book in 1982, And later on, I took out a whole bunch of those annoying typos. They had to figure out a way to even do the book again. When scan technology came about, I could do that. If I was writing the book today, I would have used more in the chapterized text about Ali and Frazier and the relationship. And some of it I didn't know and other people didn't know until maybe just 10, 15 years ago, some parts of it. I'm not an apologist for it. We could say that Ali helped Frazier make money, but the gate was pretty well built. I could also say that Ali called a lot of people names. He called Foreman was the mummy and Chavallo the washerwoman and Patterson the rabbit and Terrell the octopus. I understand the problem realistically, sociologically, sensibly with Gorilla. He never should have done that. He never should have done that. I don't think he meant it in that negative racial way in the beginning. Frazier did come in like this, but it was bad. But what was worse than that is when he did the thing about Frazier being like this. That was wrong, wrong, wrong. I might have some of that in the chapterized text, but I have never changed the chapterized text other than typos. Recently, I changed one round because I got a round wrong. I realized it. I also had insulted somebody in Ali's corner in the first printing. I didn't realize it, but it was my fault, and I fixed that. Other than that, I didn't mess with it. Now, when Ali died, I should say the book ends with Ali's career, at least the chapters. This is important. I didn't want to extend it, even though I certainly met Ali after that, had dinner with him, etc. I did a fifth printing after Ali died, and I did an epilogue called Reflections. Aha. Now I can mention highlights that were in the chapterized text, as well as a few other things that had happened since then. What I did, and my sixth printing only came out about 4 weeks ago, I added to that epilogue, and I specifically mentioned that I'm not naive. I could read it, but I don't know if that's necessary. I added a couple of paragraphs about Ali's conduct with Frazier, regardless of how he meant it, his walking away from Malcolm, some early things about a black and white, and his marital infidelity was wrong. And he came to understand that. It doesn't make it go away. He worked really hard to show remorse. I know there's some question whether or not he exactly apologized clearly to Frazier's face, but he made it clear it hurt him. And then, in many ways, he became greater in other ways, reaching out, because he's done so much for so many people that the press hasn't seen. And he's the kind of guy, and this is pretty close to specific, where he'd be in a restaurant sitting with two mucky mucks with suits. I don't know, a couple of rich lawyers and a tycoon business guy and a prince. And he'd say, "Excuse me." And he'd go into the back room and he wants to talk to the dishwasher. That's Muhammad Ali. One cute story. Joe Frazier was managing, I think it was Dwayne Bobbick, and Bobbick was in, I believe, Waterbury, Connecticut. So I put on my Bodini shirt. Bodini or Boudini. He didn't pronounce it Bundini. That shirt was given to me by Boudini off of his back. There were supposedly 6 made. Gilbert Rogan wrote that later, you know, from Sports Illustrated. Literally took it off. So I wore it that night, and I said to my friend, "We're going to the fights in Connecticut. I want to say hello to Frazier, but let's do the thing that I had to explain to my friend Steve. We're going to do it like the first weigh-in with listing. When I get towards Frazier, I'm going to go nuts. But don't let me go," like Ali said to Boudini and Sugar Ray Robinson. "Don't let me go or I might get hurt. So, I want to get you. I want to get you, Joe. You're nothing. You know, I am the greatest and you're nothing." Steve, hold on to me. Now, Steve couldn't really hold me, but he's got me around the waist. And I'm giving it to Frazier. This is where the audience is in this arena. And Frazier's giving it back to me. And it was a lot of fun. And near the end, when Frazier left, we looked at each other and it was a very nice smile. And I appreciated it. One more thing on Frazier. Naturally, I've got Ali's opponents all over the place in my museum on one main card, but then a lot of stuff of Foreman, Norton, Liston, etc. I have Frazier in a different place besides the regular ones. When you come in, you look right at him in a beautiful picture because he gets special. He gets a special place. I didn't even know till maybe a decade ago that with everything he did in the ring, he could hardly see out of one eye. You guys might know that, but I didn't know that. That's a fact.
Yeah, it was a rocky relationship. I've seen him, Frazier, go on shows that were tributes to Ali. I mean, they had a rocky relationship back and forth. But listen, the greatest fight of the century, probably the greatest fight of all time, I would say, at least in the top 3, was the Frazier-Ali #1. So, I mean, it is what it is. Ali, I didn't like Ali growing up. I've come to like him now. Let's put it that way. My wife's a big fan of Ali, and I've watched him over the years. And
excuse me, do you know why? It's the same reason, same thing that Ali told me twice. Once in 1974 in Deer Lake, and once in Boston in 1992, where incidentally we literally drank from the same Coke glass, same glass. But the reason your wife knows that is because, as Ali said to me, she's not as dumb as she looks.
That's great. So, Rick, another question I have for you. Over the years, Muhammad Ali, they came back to defend his title a lot of times. And I think the last time when he went up against Holmes was probably the biggest mistake his management team ever made. The doctors wouldn't sign off on him. The regular doctor wouldn't sign off on it because Ali was in such bad condition as far as even touching his nose with his
Dr.
finger.
Fergie Pacheco, his personal physician, quit his corner for that.
Right. But his own trainer, his own manager, should have not let that happen. I think it really it made his disease even worse than it was. And of course, he was not the fighter, nowhere close to the fighter he was in his prime. And I think that is one time I actually felt sorry for Muhammad Ali. And that I don't think he ever wanted people to do. And that fight should have never been allowed. And I think that a lot of people should have gotten a lot more trouble than what happened because of that fight.
Yeah, it hurt. It hurt very much to watch it. Ali he looked good, but he had messed around because he was given certain advice with thyroid pills. There were other things that happened. He was dried out. And as I guess Jack was alluding to, Ferdy did not want it to happen. By the way, for my book, I have, and this is bragging, but I am so thankful. The testimonials I have are wonderful from major, major boxing people. I think you've seen him, Jack. But Pacheco particularly gave me a beautiful one. There's just a beautiful thing in there. I should tell you about the Ali one. In 1983, a little after the book came out, Ali spoke at a small place that was like a village of 300 years ago, similar to the famous Sturbridge Village in Mass, but it was in Connecticut. His friend Bill Phillips ran it. And that's the day where I spoke with Ali, and I reminded him I'm the guy he had spoken with a few months ago. Here's my book. I even sold some there. I had a little arrangement. I asked for a quote, and he wrote on a piece of paper, "Your book about you and me is the greatest book about me in the world." And I almost choke up when I write that. That night, my wife and Ali and about 25 people had dinner. And a cute thing there, and I know I could ramble forever, but stop me if need be. I think it's interesting. Years before, this ties in. I think you guys know that Ali liked magic. So I sent Ali's publicist, Harold Conrad, a trick to give to Ali. It was in the 70s. I got a letter back from Harold that Ali was having a great time with it in Germany. Years pass. At that dinner, Ali's retired. I take a deck out. He calls me over in the middle of the meal, and he set it up in a way that I knew that he remembered it. It's a trick I often do, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. If I may I mention something about Deer Lake?
Go ahead. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
1974. Ali's going to be going to Africa soon for the Foreman fight. No GPS or anything close. I get home from a date. It's about midnight. said, this is crazy. If we're going to see Ali, me or anyone I know, we have to do it now. I've got regular maps. I called my friend Alan. I said, we're going where? We're going to Deer Lake from the New Haven area. Do you know how to get there? I said, no, I got a map. You stop at toll stations. There were more toll stations. It's raining and it's dark. He said, are you crazy? I said, I'm leaving by 1 o'clock. You're going to regret this the rest of your life. Well, I'm 73. He's about 72. He still regrets it. Drove all night, stopped in a little town. I had to stop because I was out of gas. Called the police station. They woke up the gas station people to get gas. The bottom line, to make it simple for now, I pulled in. I have to check my own book, but something like 6:30 or 7 in the morning up the hill in Deer Lake. I was exhausted. I was alone. I started to lower the seat on my car because I figured nobody could be up yet. This is amazing. At that moment, a guy jogs in. No fancy Adidas or Nike. Heavy army boots, old gray sweats, a guy named Muhammad Ali. And I spent a day there that was insane. I had lunch with Mailer and Schulberg and others, and I know this sounds ridiculous to say this, but fairly friendly with Kilroy and Boudini, Gene Kilroy, his business manager. Can you get friendly at all? It's, people say they have a friend on Facebook. It's usually BS. But I mean, we actually had a relationship where Boudini gave me that shirt, as I said, off his back. And he doesn't do that stuff for anybody. Kilroy had me move his car. And there's so much during the day that was great, but I just want to relate one thing because it was cool. Ali did his bellowing and his yelling. And that's one time where I started doing the old Liston poems that he transferred to Fraser and Foreman. Liston starts to back, but there ain't enough room. It goes on and on. He had to adapt them a little bit. That's one of the times then that he said, I'm not as dumb as I look. But at some point, I spoke with him alone. And I mean zero press, zero. Now he talks quietly. He didn't lead his whole life yelling. He could be very quiet. And we're just alone for a while. And I said, champ, I know you're gonna win by AKO some way or other, but you do mean a TKO, right? And he said no. He said no, that Foreman was going to be down for 10. And he wasn't doing that for the press. That to me was a pretty special thing when he said that.
That's pretty cool. That is cool. That is definitely cool.
I saw him fight live 8 times. The 8th time was New Orleans, Leon Spinks. When the fight was over, I was trying to find the dressing room. When I finally found it, I didn't think I'd be able to get in. Everybody was saying that I'm supposed to be in. This guy's supposed to be in. I'm his uncle. It just like happens all the time. Now, and I know you're watching the clock too. A guy comes up and he's going crazy trying to get in. The Louisiana cops, they're not letting him in. And he says, I'm Grippo. And I said, wait a minute. Are you Jimmy Grippo, the hypnotist and magician? Yeah. Now, I'm nobody, understand. But I know the name. So I vouch for him. And I said, excuse me, this guy's Jimmy Grippo, the magician, the hypnotist. He's supposed to be in there. So they let him in. He grabs me, and I mean grabs me, brings me in, goes into an inner room that got shut, not his fault, and I'm in an outer dressing room. In just a moment or two, Ali comes out after having yelled, the greatest of all time, and they were all yelling about the 3rd time being champ. But he was yelling and yelling. And now he comes out, and it's almost, I'm doing this in a funny way, as close as we are, I'm looking at him. And his voice is straining. He can't yell anymore. It trails off. All time. All time. And I soaked that in so much. It's still like stuck in my shirt.
That's too cool.
I've got a zillion other stories. And I
bet you do.
I know you have a time thing.
Well, we gotta hit a break and get the show going. But Rick, I definitely would like you to come in again. I mean, I would love to hear some more of these stories because they're outstanding. But if you can, we'd love to get you back on in the near future. We got a lot of different shows we do on the network, and I'm definitely going to recommend you too to some different shows because this is awesome. You're awesome guest. You're awesome. Got some awesome stories. And as I saw on the book site, your used book's going for $42. So I mean, that book, I don't have a copy of it, but it must be awesome. And if you could, again, before we let you go, mention the book, where it can be found, and all that good stuff, Rick.
All right, I know I'll have to say it relatively quickly. This is important. Nobody, and I mean this, should buy this on the internet. You're looking at older printings, and although the chapterized text is mainly the same, there are a lot of typos. You don't have the two pictures that I recently put in of me with Ali. You don't have not only the epilogue, but the extended epilogue. Get it from me. One hell of a lot cheaper. The brand new ones are 4 weeks old. The cartons over there. May I give my phone number and email?
Yes, anything you got.
If this is the only way to do it that makes sense, is call me directly, please. 203, that's 203 in Connecticut, 393-1233, 393-1233. It'll be a hell of a lot cheaper than that, signed directly. My email, although in the end it's better to do the human thing of talking, is rkaletsky, like one word, @gmail.com. RKALETSKY @gmail.com. I'm appreciative. I thank you for the time, and I hope you're.
Get this book. Get this book.
Yes, definitely, Rick. Again, we appreciate taking some time out of your day to come on. Great stories, great interview, and we definitely will want to get you back on if you're available again very shortly in the near future. If you don't,
we can never get too much of Muhammad Ali.
I can't get too much of Rick here.
Plenty more from different angles, and on the side, I can even throw in such things as going to Panama City for the Durand fight, some other little boxing things.
Oh, that'd be great.
Please contact me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick. You're right down. You're south of me. I'm from Connecticut too, and I'll be in touch with you. Trust me.
Just remember, when they queried me on the Cooper bout, I answered with Shakespearean thrift. They asked me what round I'd knock Henry out. I said, Henry V.
There you go. Thanks again for coming in, Rick. Folks, Rick Kaletsky, he's the author of Ali and Me Through the Ropes. Check him out. Check out his phone number, his email address, and there he is, pointing to the greatest boxer of all time. Thank you again, Rick, for coming in.
Thank you again,
Rick.
Take care. Gee, sorry, Rick.
Rick, you cut him off. I mean, Mac, come on. I know we got to go to a break, but
yeah,
he wanted things better. Mac,
he wanted to finish. Rick, we'll bring it back on real quick. What was the last thing you had?
No, just that you spelled my name wrong. It's KALET TSKY.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So KALETSKY. So
yes,
check
sir.
them out, folks. And
Thank
again,
you.
Rick, have a great day, my friend.
Take care, Rick.
So there you go, folks. Great guest, Jack. Great book, man. I mean, that guy was very, very knowledgeable and entertaining.
Nice stories.
Oh, great stories. Great stories. So, folks, we're going to take our last break for the day. We'll be back on the other side. We still got some more sports to talk about. Jack, Thursday's almost gone, man. Christmas is coming. So let's get out of here for a few minutes.
When the job is done, this guy will be ready to dig into something mighty good to eat.
How do you handle a hungry man? The manhandlers.
One of the manhandlers is Campbell's vegetable beef. Gets a man-sized supper off to a good hot start. Good.
The manhandlers.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211-INFO-LINE.
A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
It certainly is a big bun. It's a very big bun. Big fluffy bun. It's a very big fluffy bun.
Where's the beef? Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year.
I don't know if there'll be snow. Welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, folks. We're on Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch. We just had on a great guest, Jack. Great get. Rick Koleski wrote the book, Ali and Me Through the Ropes. His museum is located here in Connecticut, and he gave out his phone number, his email, folks, for his rewrite on his book that has an epilogue, extended epilogue, and maybe some other stories or parts of paragraphs that weren't included in the first copy, and you can get it for very cheap as opposed to what's online right now. So,
Mac, Rick did a great job. We're going to have another great guest next Thursday. Tony Page, who hosted the late night sports show on WFAN for 16 years. For 16 years, Tony, had a very popular show on WFAN radio. He's going to be coming on as a guest next Thursday. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to get Rick back in here again one time. Tony is a great get again. I mean,
well, if you insulted him, Mac, I don't know would he be that anxious to come back. I mean, the man's talking in mid-sentence. You just cut him off like he's like a speck of dust in the air.
Listen, he's like you, Jack.
Maybe the way he was saying Ali should have directly apologized to Frazier directly. Maybe you should directly apologize to Rick, not just make comments, well, this and that. Directly.
Well, listen, Jack, he's like you. He's like you. You have to interrupt to get a word in edgewise. So he's a great talker. As you were as our guest the first time, we pretty much sat back and let you go. And, it was almost impossible to ask you a question once you started rolling. So
I hate guys like that. You can't even get in a word.
Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. So that was a great guest. Folks, to let you know, we got a lot of things coming up. As you know, we're on YouTube at the Northeast Streaming Sports. We're on iHeart. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place. And we're going to be taking the plunge in January to television. So Northeast Streaming Sports with the Mac and Jack Sports Show, we will be going to Roku TV. We're going to have our own channel. It looks like it's going to be published 3 January. So if you're listening out there after 3 January, search Northeast Streaming Sports. We'll be there, and you'll see all the shows on the big screen, and you'll see all the videos that we'll have posted. We've been working tirelessly to get this thing ready to go by 3 January, and we'll try to get it up and coming out the gate fast. But 3 January, folks, Roku TV. So stay tuned for that. Jack, we really don't have a lot more sports information, but it's a heck of a topic that I want to get into you with. Growing up, we watched all the All-Star games, right? We watched the MLB, the NBA, the Pro Bowl, and they played like it was a regular game. They hit hard. They played hard. It was like a rivalry, right? The National League versus the American League, and the NFC versus the NFC, the East versus the West. They played it to win. It was bragging rights. Whose league or whose conference was better? And they took it very seriously. There was no love lost between the conferences. And of course, players didn't move around like they do today, right? You didn't next 1 year here, next year there, 3 years here, you're gone. There was loyalty to the teams, and believe it or not, there's loyalty to the conferences in the different leagues. It's not that way anymore, really. You know, it's become a show, and a boring show at that, right? The all-pro teams, the rosters were named.
Well, we had the selections made, and Mac,
right.
Let me just say, Mac, this is football. Let's be honest about it. Things have changed. You can't expect the Pro Bowl for them to be hard tackling and play the game toughly. There's the injury factor involved.
Oh, stop. There was injury factor forever.
Get enough contact.
There was an injury.
It's an exhibition game. It's a fun game to just see the talent assembled on the field.
Fun. It is not. It is far from fun, Jack. It's boring as all outdoors. It's boring as watching.
Fun for the players. They go.
No,
they have a patient.
Then good. Let them go play. Go let them go play, and get a free vacation trip. And whatever you're doing there, go do that somewhere else. This is ridiculous. Why isn't it on TV anymore? Any of those games?
Everyone is focusing on the Super Bowl the following week. It just fills in a gap. And the players go there. Listen, you know what's on my mind when I hear the Pro Bowl selections? I don't look at the two rosters and think who's going to win the game. That's so unimportant.
That's what we did.
You know what I look at? I look at it as opportunity, Mac, to take you to task when I saw the roster yesterday with the Indianapolis Colts, 7 Pro Bowl players. And you were bragging to me and arguing how wonderful Carson Wentz has been this year. He's an elite quarterback. And this gives me a chance now, Mac, when the rosters came out to point out to you.
Yes.
He had 2 offensive linemen more than any other team who were voted to the Pro Bowl. He had Jonathan Taylor, maybe the best running back in the NFL this year, going to the Pro Bowl. That's why Carson Wentz has had the success he's had. Those guys have been outstanding. All he's had to do was manage the game. So when I saw that, that was my piece of evidence. He had 3 pieces, major pieces, to help him get there. So it's basically just don't screw up. They put him in that good position. But getting back to that, Mac, take All-Star games in general, okay? Yeah. Let's take baseball, for example. It used to be a big thing, American League against National League. And who could forget the image of Pete Rose running into Ray Fosse, the winning run? You're never going to get that again. But keep this in mind. At that time, there was a genuine rivalry, American League against National League. There was a genuine rivalry. Now in interleague play, we don't have that anymore. No one is comparing American League to National League. I mean,
it's a shame. It's a shame. It takes some of the sport out of the sport. Listen. I think the main reason why is because players move so much. It's not so much interleague games. It's because you could be playing on the Dodgers one year and you'd be on the Yankees the next. That's why. because you really don't have team loyalty. If you don't have team loyalty, you don't have conference loyalty. You know what I always thought, Jack? If the Giants didn't make it to the playoffs, I wanted the NFC East to win. I didn't have another favorite team. I mean, I followed the Vikings because of Fran Tarkenton. I was happy they made it to the Super Bowl. But guess what? If he played against the Redskins or the Cowboys, even the Cowboys, I hate the Cowboys. But if he played those teams, I wanted the NFC East to win because my team was from that conference.
If
right?
the Chiefs played the Cowboys this year in the Super Bowl, which is conceivable, you would be rooting for the Cowboys because in the NFC East. That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Because, okay, you want a team that's in the same division as the team you root for to win.
Right, if I'm following it, yeah.
But do you care if the Rams, let's say, play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Do you care who wins at all?
Yeah, I want the NFC to win.
You want, okay, so you like the NFC because your team is in there.
Right.
I'm a Jet fan. Am I rooting for the AFC? Not necessarily. I mean, I don't care that much if the Jets aren't going to be in there, who's going to beat who. Listen.
I mean, let me ask you a question. A question. All right, suppose it's the Patriots versus the Cowboys. Who you take?
I don't know how I'm going to feel at the time, Matt.
Oh, stop it. Right now, who would you take?
I don't know. Who would I be rooting for right now? I might be instinctively, I think I might be rooting for the Patriots even.
Right.
I don't know instinctively.
That makes sense.
I don't know. You don't know.
Now,
at
the Patriots are from my area, and they're very popular in my area. But because the Cowboys, who I hate with every fiber of my being, is from the NFC, I would root for the Cowboys.
Buffalo Bills against the Washington Redskins. Okay, now.
Not the Redskins.
I could use this logic, and I could hold people who live in New York State accountable. I'm from New York State.
Right.
Technically speaking, shouldn't I be rooting for the Buffalo Bills if the Jets can't advance, which obviously they're not? But let's say the Bills go to the Super Bowl, which is a possibility.
Right.
Shouldn't I be rooting for the Buffalo Bills against any team they play because they're from New York State? Technically, you could say that's the case, but people in New York City couldn't care less about the Buffalo Bills that they're from their state. They only care for their team from their city. People are linked to their city. They're not linked to their state.
Not only are they from New York, they're in your division and they're in the AFC. See, this is what I'm talking about. When I grew up, these things mattered to people. You cared. Listen, if the American League was in the World Series and your team wasn't there for the American League, and I don't care if you hate the Boston Red Sox or hate the New York Yankees, a lot of people want the American League to win the World Series. When I was growing up, no, I don't care if it's nostalgia or not. I'm saying it kind of stinks now.
Mac, and also things have changed. When we went to school, Mac, we would rush home from school to catch a World Series game on TV. We couldn't wait to get home to catch the game in progress. Those World Series games were played weekdays.
Right.
Now you're not going to catch a World Series game on a weekday.
I agree. And that's a different discussion. I'm just talking about the all-star games, whether it's a Pro Bowl or all-star. And you have two players picking from the NBA, picking their teams from that. It's ridiculous. Why would anybody pay to see that? Why anybody would watch that is beyond me. I don't care if stars are playing.
Want to see talent on the field. Just the idea you see that.
If you're not going to tackle them, man, if there's no competition, where's the sport? What sport is your? Well, it's not a sports program anymore. If you're gonna in the NBA, just let the guy run down and put the ball in the hoop. Why are you even playing it? Why not just have an exhibition shooting contest? Why are you actually having a game? The 1 to 150 wins first. Are you kidding me? Is that how you're going to do it?
Listen, it's an exhibition. The regular season, the playoffs end, and there's one game left. The Super Bowl. There's a 2-week gap between the AFC and NFC championship game and the Super Bowl. And I kind of like the 2-week gap. It gives everyone a chance to reset. And the first few days after the AFC and NFC championship game ends, we're not paying attention to football that much. It's we need a few days to take a break, and then we all reset for the Super Bowl the week before. Then we all start getting psyched for the game. But to fill in the gap of the one weekend, you have a Pro Bowl. I don't watch it a lot of the time, quite honestly. It doesn't mean anything to me. If the TV's on, it's kind of like a fun thing. The players have like a vacation. The tackling, it's no more than a practice session. You put the guy down. The guy doesn't try to get extra yardage. It's not that intense, but it becomes fun. Look at the NBA All-Star Game, Mac. The NBA All-Star Game, did they play any defense at all in the NBA All-Star Game?
I just said that. They don't. They don't. So why do it? Why have a game? What I'm saying is why have a game, Jack? If you want to do exhibition, then play exhibition drills or.
I like seeing Steph Curry launching 3-point shots.
I don't care. Nobody in his face. Who cares? I mean, do it during the game. Yeah, it's interesting. But to do it when nobody's hurting you,
dunks, you just see them on the court, go back and forth, and it's a showcase. The All-Star Games are now a showcase.
But it didn't used to be that way, is what I'm saying, Jack. I know what it is now, and that's why I don't watch them. What I'm saying is, first of all, to have the Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl makes no sense at all to begin with. I remember when the college All-Stars used to play the Super Bowl champions before the season started, and that was for real. The college kids came up and tried to beat the NFL, and the NFL finally, in the 70s, with the Steelers starting beating the hell out of the college All-Stars, so they stopped that game. But for a while, that was a real game. What I'm saying is we progress in sports to a point where it's no longer a sport anymore. The certain events they have are not sports. They're just exhibitions. People don't want to pay to go watch practice games, but they'll pay to go watch a Pro Bowl. It's worse than practice games. It's worse than exhibition games. At least they're out there hitting each other. And I don't know what the NFL, the NBA, or the Major League Baseball is thinking. I don't know why fans put up with it. Either play the game or don't. It makes no sense to me. The whole thing makes no sense anymore to me. And I think as we progress more, what are we going to be doing next?
What's the alternative, Mac?
Real football, or don't do it.
They're not going to have real football. They're not going to be hitting hard. Players aren't going to want that game.
Then
first off, the guys in the Super Bowl don't play in that game. They have to prepare.
I got a suggestion, Jack. I got a suggestion. Why don't you take all the guys that don't play regular in the games and have a second string or third string game where they actually play football?
Who cares?
Where they actually go out there.
We're exhausted. The playoffs just.
I'm not exhausted.
And we're getting ready for the Super Bowl.
People never get enough of football. Off year, they think about football. They talk about football. They never get enough of football. So I don't believe that's true. What I'm saying is that people that don't get a chance to start during the year, the backup quarterbacks, whatever, put an all-star team together with them.
Pro Bowl. So what are you talking about backup quarterbacks?
Because the Pro Bowl is not a Pro Bowl, Jack. It's an exhibition. It's not a game. Have a real game.
That's all it's designed to be.
No, it was not, Jack. They played for real. What are you talking about?
Now, you know what you could do? You could just have a Pro Bowl team and not have a Pro Bowl game.
There you go.
I wouldn't necessarily be against that because it's strictly an exhibition. It's harm is done playing the darn game. Don't watch it. I don't watch it half the time.
It's strictly for their resume, Jack. That's all it's for. I was named the 15.
Which is fine. That's what it did, and that's fine. We should have all-star teams.
But I want to see if I'm going to have a game. If it's presented to me as a game, I want to.
It's not being. They play a game, but no one takes it seriously.
Well, I take football, basketball, and baseball very seriously, Jack. And I think it's a disgrace to put out that product for people to look at a hero worship. There are people out there that aren't even really playing. Play the game or don't play it at all. That's all I say. That's all I'm saying, Jack. That's not a lot to ask, I don't think.
Okay, Mac, but it's not going to happen.
I know it's not, Jack, and that's a shame. That's what I'm saying. It's a shame. So anyway, getting back to the regional concept, we were talking about before we started the bowl games. The loyalty of the teams, which transfers into the loyalty to the division, that transfers into the loyalty of that league or conference, is gone. But not with me, Jack. Not with me. Because I'm telling you right now, if the Dallas Cowboys, as they say, get in there, I'm rooting for
Mac, I thought we were done with this topic. So
if
what
the
are you
Rams, wait a minute.
doing?
I'm summing it up before we leave. If any NFC team gets in there, I'm rooting for them. And that's the way it should be, Jack. That's the law of the MAC law of football, baseball, and all that. So
I'm going to take this up with Byron, and I'm going to take it up with Jim Jeffcoat as
all
well.
right. I bet they'll tell you the same thing.
Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat. We'll take it up with them.
When they talk about it, when they come on the show, folks, I'll guarantee you, because they're old school like me, they love it when the division, the NFC East does very well. They love it. So, folks, that's it for the show. I got to get that off my chest before the Pro Bowl and all the nonsense comes up. Have a Merry Christmas if you don't join us again this week. We'll be on.
We're on tomorrow, Matt.
We're on tomorrow. Yes, we are. We'll be on right after Christmas, and we'll have a show for you Christmas Day. If you want to watch some sports talk, we'll have one on for you. You guys have a great Christmas. Hope you get everything you want. And more importantly, hopefully you got the Christmas spirit this year. Spend some time with your family and friends and remember what it's all about, right? Jack, we'll see you tomorrow. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Our Friday show, where we'll have Byron Williams on, Keith Angle, and the Philly sports guy as we look forward to the weekend of sports, which there will be a lot of football, college football, pro football, and NBA on. We'll be talking about all that tomorrow. Have a great day, folks.